going live. Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out at packernet.com. You can also find our Overflow channel wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Packer Fan Total Access. You can find this on Spotify, iTunes, and everything in between. It is February 17th. Mock draft season is upon us. It is absolutely blown up. We've got the combine later this week. A lot of draft talk is really ramping up. We're going to dive into a couple of different topics, one being a former NFL scout, Daniel Jeremiah, talking about this draft being cornerback heavy. It just so happens, I think we would all agree, the Packers could use a cornerback or two. So we'll talk about the specifics of the cornerback class this year. And then we'll also dive into who are the players that are being the most mock drafted to the Green Bay Packers in terms of like Sports Illustrated, The Athletic, Packers Wire, some other websites. So we're going to dive into a little bit of the mock draft database and just break down some of those picks, whether our board agrees with them or doesn't agree with them, and kind of dive into everything in between. Before we do, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us part of your morning. We are not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We are fans just like you talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you catch all the live streams moving forward. We got Emilio back in the saddle here, fresh off a trip up north. He's in the house, obviously down in Tennessee. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers draft. And man, I'll tell you, the channel blew up yesterday. It seems like all of a sudden everybody woke up and went, "Oh man, draft's right around the corner. Let's start talking about it." So, how y'all doing, boys?
Good. Glad to be back. No snow down here, Clay, so I'll take it.
Yeah, man, nice down here. We're supposed to get up around 70 tomorrow, I believe, where we're at. So, Jacob, how you doing, bub?
I'm doing good. Emilio, you missed it. I'm not a coffee guy anymore. I'm drinking tea. So now that I'm a teetotaler, I like it.
Okay.
It's been 50 degrees the last few days here in Wisconsin too. So today after this, I got to go wash my car because it is disgusting.
There you go.
Come on.
You heard it from a fan right here.
I did hear you talking smack about Glover while I was gone, though. I did catch that little clip, so I don't know what that was all about, but we're gonna have to keep a wraps on that, Jacob.
I know it, man. It's just always Glover always catching hate when you're not around him.
Come on now.
You know what I mean? And Jacob just in here talking
not
like,
not my chin, not my problem. That's what I say.
All right. We got Mike Z with the super chat kicking things off. He just said, Emilio.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Mike, you're the man. We'll make sure Emilio does not get that $2.
Heck yeah.
That's the way it's going to run. But let's waste no time and dive into it, man. I want to get your all's take before we dive in. Well, let's hit the tweet real quick. And it's pretty straightforward. Daniel Jeremiah, former NFL scout, he used to scout for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, he's with the NFL Network now. He took over from Mike Mayock. And whether you think Mike Mayock was a good GM or not, the reality is he was the lead NFL draft expert for NFL Network. And he was so good at what he did that it got him a general manager job in the NFL, which is way further along than any of us will ever see, right, when we're breaking down the draft. So Daniel Jeremiah took over for Mike Mayock. And Daniel Jeremiah, if you don't know, he played quarterback at Appy State. I don't think he made it to the NFL, but he went into scouting. He scouted for the Baltimore Ravens. I know, Emilio, you watch his show all the time, as do I, especially during the mowing season. He's a guy who understands the draft process inside and out. Here is what his tweet said, and I want to get your all's take, and then we'll dive into the details. But Daniel Jeremiah just tweeted out last night. He said there are a lot of day two starting cornerbacks in this draft. All right. Now, again, starting cornerback. He's saying day two of the draft, there are a lot is the word he used, right? Cornerbacks that are going to start for NFL teams day one. Now, are there a handful of them, maybe one or two that are slot corners? Could be the case. You're talking a little semantics here, right? But the majority of those guys are going to be playing outside. So that would suggest, just with that tweet alone, the Packers at 52, that's day two, they should be able to nab a cornerback that could start right away. Jacob, what do you think about that take, man, based off of what we've seen? Because we've kind of talked about, like, you better get one at 52 or you're really going to miss out, right? Hasn't that been kind of the theme? Same thing with D tackle, but cornerback as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe some recency bias because that's how it's been in years past for sure. I kind of like what he's talking about because just last night I happened to there's a few right around that 52 area that we've already highlighted. Guys like Keontae Scott, D'Angelo Pons, Chris Johnson. But then, like you said, or maybe like he's referring, you look even down more. They got guys like 83, Devin Moore. He had an 83 overall. 104, they have Traden Stukes. He was a 90.1 overall grade, fifth out of on 908 cornerbacks. You got guys like Will Lee III, Xavier Scott at 109, Malik Muhammad, who I know is high on a lot of guys' scales. He's at 111, and I haven't even gotten past there. We still have talked about guys like Davis and Igbiznum.
Oh my God,
Igbignogsen. Guys like Thaddeus Dixon, there are quite a few names to be talked about down there. Julian Neal. So yeah, I'm excited.
It's funny you butchering that pronunciation. There's two that I've got notes for here. Okay, Ihanakor was one of the better tackles in the game, and we've been saying Kazoil. Evidently, the pronunciation online that I looked up is Koziol. So I'm sure we'll forget that between now and then, but. Amelia, what do you think about the cornerback class? I know you've been on the road, you've been traveling, probably haven't been able to dive in as much as you like, but what do you think here? Do you think it'd be worth taking one at 52? And obviously day 2 means the third round as well, right?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think from, just those couple early mocks, it's like, yeah, if we don't get one early, then we think that we don't have one, but I feel like you can find a little bit of talent late. Like, Jacob was kind of rattling through them there. You got Chandler Rivers too. It seems like they kind of, sort of stack in there a little bit, like 80 to 120-ish, numbers wise, but we'll see. I mean, we're going to need one at some point. I feel like you're going to have to find somebody that you like and sort of, kind of hang your hat on that. But I think that you'll be able to find someone there deeper in the draft, which we're going to need. We're going to need a little bit of help back there. So I'm kind of excited to dive into it a little bit more.
Yeah. Let's see here. Lil Mick Crocodile Dundee says in the chat, Pons or Johnson? That's a great question. If you look at our board here, and what I've done is I've got a screen grab here of our draft board, and it's sorted by cornerback position, and our overall scores on the far right. Okay, low number wins. So when you go down that, if you were to ask me about those two corners, which would we pick? Who do you say, Pons or Johnson? Right.
Yep.
With Pons or Johnson, D'Angelo Pons is our 6th best corner on our board. Okay, he is sitting there with a 40.4 grade. More than worthy of the 52nd pick if he's sitting there on the board. Next would be on that list would be Keith Abney behind him, right? And then you get into Brandon Cease. Well, Chris Johnson is just above D'Angelo Pons. Okay, he's in the 5 spot. And again, there's one placeholder. There's a reason you're seeing the 6. It's actually a 5. His is a 36.1 is the grade we've got on Chris Johnson. Okay, so if Chris Johnson and D'Angelo Pons are on the board when we pick at 52, I think I've got to go with Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson is the bigger cornerback, right? D'Angelo Pons, there's an argument to be made that Chris Johnson played better than Pons last year, although Pons won a national championship and he played great in those big games. But D'Angelo Pons is undersized, right? So if the grade was exactly the same, and these guys, I mean, they're not even in the same tier, right, Emilio? They're just outside different tiers there. So
right, and that the big difference there, Clay, is that Senior Bowl, or the Senior Bowl -5 points for Chris Johnson there, because like we talked about, and I think we went over it last year. Is like you carry into it being the national championship team, you might not get that bonus, but do you get a little knock because you were part of that? I'm glad that Chris Johnson, stood out there, but that -5 is a big swing right there for those two.
It is. And when you break everything down, there's only one thing that would suggest, yes, you should take Pons over Chris Johnson. Just one, that he played much more difficult talent, right? The opponent's schedule, right? The opponents on their schedule, I should say, were much more difficult for Indiana than it was San Diego State. Everything else across the board, I mean, Chris Johnson was the second highest graded corner. D'Angelo Pons was the sixth highest graded corner, right? Like you said, come Senior Bowl week, they were both there at Senior Bowl week. Chris Johnson dominated. D'Angelo Pons, not saying he played bad, but he did not play at the level that Chris Johnson did. So if the question, Jacob, is which of these two cornerbacks is more pro ready right now, you will go, well, D'Angelo Pons probably played against more pro level talent, right, than Chris Johnson. However, when it came put up or shut up, Senior Bowl week, Chris Johnson against the best of the best in college football that week, and then putting them in situations where it's one-on-one bump and run situations, right, where you're having to cover the best wide receivers coming out in the draft as well. Chris Johnson dominated. D'Angelo Pons didn't play bad, but he didn't dominate at the level Chris Johnson did. So that, like Emilio pointed out, Jacob, without that 5-point bonus, I can be swayed into taking D'Angelo Pons maybe. But with that 5-point bonus and the size difference and the PFF grades and everything in between here, I'm trying to see here. Like, I mean, even when you look at Dane Brugler's rankings, right? He's got Chris Johnson 38, D'Angelo Pons 40, right? But at the same time, Daniel Jeremiah didn't have either of these cornerbacks in his top 50, which leads credence to his tweet that, day two, you can get a good corner. That I'm sure both of these guys are on his day two list. But what do you think about all that, Jacob? If you had to pick one of those two, who are you going with?
Yeah, if I had to pick one of the two, I'm definitely going Chris Johnson. Like you said, the size issues. PFF hasn't always been great with listing the sizes accurately, but they have Chris Johnson at 6 foot 195, like you mentioned there. Mr. D'Angelo Pons, they have him listed at 5'9", 173. Just seems a bit undersized for what the Packers like to do. But that being said, I mean, a guy grading out as a 91.6 second overall versus Pons as the 9th overall. I mean, those are seventh overall, two great prospects there. Like you said, the level of talent would be something that would make you obviously sway towards one or the other. But I think that more of what you highlighted is when you actually put the highlight on them, put the spotlight on them, make them go up against really good competition. The Chris Johnson thing just seems too good to be true. I really hope he's still available around that 52 mark. If he's not, then so be it. Like I said, like to your point, PFF does have Chris Johnson at 59. They got Pons at 55, so they do consider him slightly better. But I have to stick with our board and say let's run that card if we get Chris Johnson.
Yeah, and Chris Johnson, Jacob, kind of like Quinyon Mitchell. It's like, all right, yeah, you didn't get to see him play, like, coming out of Toledo last year, didn't get to see him play all that competition, that talent, but you come into the Senior Bowl, you're playing top dog, you're playing best of the best, and you show up. I love to see that. You're not afraid of the competition, all that.
Jacob, so did you say the PFF big board today has Pons higher than Johnson? Is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, 55 to 59. Yep.
So if you'll notice on our board, and this is why I do this, I talk about it every year, and I know there's some that disagree. It's the reason I do it is I want to know how people felt about these prospects when the football stopped being played, right? Before all the buzz. We'll control the buzz of the All-Star Week and the Combine and all that, right? With bonuses we can add in. But at the end of the college football season, PFF Big Board had D'Angelo Pons at 58 and Chris Johnson at 43. Well, now all of a sudden Pons has jumped him on the PFF Big Board, right? I love that our board is holding true to, again, I waited till the college football season was over, gave it a week and a half, boom, put the numbers in. That way, fresh off of what the tape showed, fresh off of what we seen on the football field, that's how those players were ranked. And I would love to sit down with PFF and go, what made you bump him up? You know what I mean? I would love to be able to ask him that. Like, why did you all of a sudden go from 58 to leapfrogging Chris Johnson when Chris Johnson had a great Senior Bowl? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, I want to know the answers to those questions, if that makes sense. So, and again, we put the PFF data in for a reason. We like it, and I think our board is held really, really true year in and year out. It's not perfect, but more times than not, we look up and go, damn, boys, we got it right.
Not we at this point, mid-February, Clay, Chris Johnson's already dropped 16 spots on PFS Big Board, right? So it's how can you take it as true or what was true? Right, exactly.
Yeah. And if the argument was, well, he didn't have a good Senior Bowl and Senior Bowl week of practice, then I would get that. But I think it was Daniel Jeremiah that said he had a great Senior Bowl week. So again, it's that's kind of how I look at that. So those are two that somewhat get highlighted here. Now let's look at our cornerback room before we move on to the next topic. Currently sorted by PFF grades defensively here. Okay, you got Kamal Hadden leading the way at 67.6. It was only 37 snaps. You guys know you got to get to that 100 snap mark before I really kind of take it serious. Like, okay, that's enough that we can truly grade how he played. Although Kamal Hadden, I don't know if he's going to play this year. I'm eager to see what his update is on his injury. I don't think he's currently under contract with the Packers, but I don't know how that injury works as well. They may have to carry him where he might have been like a exclusive rights free agent or something. I don't know. We'd have to look into the details of his contract situation, but wipe him off the board here. Okay. Expect him to not be effective this year because that was a horrible injury. Keyshawn Nixon, 66.7. This is what I was saying. As much as he pissed me off this year, and there was times it was just like, man, stop running your mouth, just play the game. You know, if you're going to act like a tough guy, make the tackle at the goal line, you know, those type of things. He still did grade out as the best cornerback on our roster to 66.7. Next was Carrington Valentine, 63.1. Nate Hobbs, who was Goody's pick of the litter in free agency, ended up grading out to 61.7. And then you got a Shamar Bartholomew, only played 34 snaps at 58.7. Trayvon Diggs, 58.7. But again, that was the majority of all but one game where he played in Dallas. He comes to Green Bay, and I think he graded out in the 80s, I believe, 70s or 80s in that one game, if I remember right. So when you look at the passer rating when targeted to kind of cross-check PFF grades, here's the passer rating when targeted. One game with the Packers, 32 snaps. Trayvon Diggs had a 39.6 passer rating when targeted. It's only one game. And again, not even 100 snaps, so you got to kind of throw it out the window. But he did lead the Packers in passer rating when targeted, 39.6, along with Zane Anderson, but again, only 21 snaps. And then you got Xavier McKinney, 40 was his passer rating when targeted. Bartholomew, like I said, only 32 snaps at 60.4. Jalen Simpson, 85.4. There's Kamal Hadden with his 37 snaps, 91.7. So when you look at the passer rating when targeted on Kamal Hadden and you look at the PFF grade, they both check out, right? And so what we're looking for is Keyshawn Nixon. Like, why is he so low on the list? Next would be Evan Williams. And then our first cornerback, or our first starting cornerback is our boy Javon Bullard. I don't think people realize the step he took forward. I know 97.1 isn't a great passer rating when targeted, but of our starting corners, he led the team with a 97.1 passer rating when targeted on 692 snaps. So his coverage got better. He was already great against the run. Katano Ladapo was next. Then you get to Keyshawn Nixon at 106.5. So when you look at Keyshawn Nixon's 106.5 passer rating when targeted, but yet he had a 66.7 PFF grade, his coverage grade was the weak spot, right? One of the weak spots at 68.7. But I would tend to lean toward this being more real than this because, again, they don't tell us why they graded the tape the way they graded it, right? They don't show us the individual plays, if that makes sense. So next on the list would be Nate Hobbs at 122.0, and then Carrington Valentine, 126.1. As bad as Nate Hobbs was, Carrington Valentine, I did not see that coming. I thought he was going to take another step this year. Your boy Clayton was wrong. Carrington was not the answer this year. So,
look at the amount of touchdowns both him and Nixon both gave up, too. 7 a pop each. I mean, that's just that can't happen, man.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Crazy. Your starting corner's giving up 7 touchdowns each. And it's one thing to give up 7 touchdowns, Emilio, but if you've got 2 or 3 picks to go with it, it's like, okay, you know, it washes out a little bit better. Carrington didn't have 1 interception. I think he had a few drops, if I remember correctly. So the whole point here, Emilio, is like, I think we would all agree we really need to focus on cornerback and free agency and the draft to see if we can pull something out here.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, I remember watching those videos of Hobbs, and it's like, yeah, do we expect him back? Do we expect him back? Man, it just looks so gingerly on the knee and everything, and I wouldn't want to put that all on him. But, yeah, you get Keyshawn and Carrington out there. They're giving that kind of stuff up. We just can't have it. And if you're not getting the pass rush there, you know, then, you know, Key was jumping a couple of them. We were sitting on some of the outs, and then, you know, you get beat deep and all that. I think the biggest thing, if we're looking at, you know, drafting and kind of scouting out the next one, is look at all those heights and weights. Pons, I think, is Goody would kind of steer clear of that. I mean, Keyshawn's our shortest corner at 5'10", and that's because he was a quote unquote $6 million, you know, kick returner, right? So everybody else is 6 foot. I mean, I would just think that, you know, you're probably looking for a little bit more size on the outside there. Some of that can be physical. And when we just need them to hold for 3-4 seconds, we get a pass rush going.
Yeah. Chris in the chat says, I still love me some 24. I do too. And here's the thing. you got to take into consideration he's a 7th-round pick, right? This is like the whole Rasheed Walker thing. The fact that you're getting a starting caliber player at some time, at some points in his career so far in a 7th round, that's great. But also, that's what we're talking about with the youngest roster in the league. You're not going to convince me, not that Chris is trying to. I'm just saying I was a Carrington fan last year. Rookie year, hated him. And I'm a Kentucky guy. Hated him in rookie year, said, man, he played like cheeks. Second year, played great. Third year, played like cheeks, right? And as I think it was Mike said in the chat, Valentine just lost me this year with the tackling. It was awful. It's so true, right? So true. So when you take all that into consideration, wouldn't it have been worth $4 or $5 million to go get a free agent cornerback at $4 or $5 million? And now Carrington is your backup cornerback, and you feel good about that. You feel good about Carrington being a backup cornerback. But hindsight being 2020, I got it. You went out, you got Nate Hobbs, you got a slot corner that, just like we do in Green Bay, we take a guy at a specific position and try to move him over here. We've seen it throughout the years we would draft cornerbacks and play them at safety. We draft a safety and try to play them at nickelback. All these different things you did it with Bullard, right? You drafted him at safety, played him at nickel. First year sucked. This year really bounced back really nice, right? So I don't know, man. That's what I mean by why not go out in free agency. And it doesn't have to be a Jamil Dean or a Jalen Watson. Maybe it can be an Asante Samuel Jr. at $3 or $4 million. Maybe it could be Rasul Douglas. You're not going to convince me that Carrington Valentine was going to play better than Rasul Douglas.
St. Juiced, just saying.
Jacob's all about St. Juice. He didn't make my list, but Jacob loves St. Juice. Roger McCreary's another one. Monteric Brown's a very interesting one. And, of course, Trayvon Diggs, who was on this list. But, again, with Trayvon Diggs, I'm not saying he's going to go back to that all-pro form. But there's no one that's going to convince me that Trayvon Diggs is going to play worse than Keyshawn Nixon and or Carrington Valentine. So go get him for $5 million, right? That's why I'm on board with signing a cornerback. If that makes sense. So, so if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about the cornerback talk? Do you agree with Daniel Jeremiah that this draft is loaded with day 2 cornerbacks that are meeting in the 2nd and 3rd round, right there in that sweet spot for the Packers? Is it falling into place perfectly for Green Bay? Who would you like to see them draft? Or maybe there's a free agent you'd like to see them sign. Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, click that bell icon for us so you catch all the live streams moving forward. All right, well, let's just move on to the next topic here. And that is mock draft mania. Now, we've been doing our share of mock drafts. Emilio, have you done any mock drafts yet this year, man?
Not by myself, no. Whatever we've done here is what I've done.
Wow. Jacob, how many have you done? 72?
I've done probably about 25, 30.
Right.
Scared money don't make money.
It's awesome.
That's since I got the credentials just yesterday.
Oh, boy.
So let me ask you this, Jacob. Since you've done several mock drafts, the whole purpose of this segment is, what are other people mocking to the Packers? Who are the players that keep popping up at 52, right? That's assuming we don't trade up or down. What's the player that keeps popping up to you when you pick at 52 that you go, man, it seems like every single time, well, not every single time, more times than not, this is the guy I would like to take at 52, and it just so happens he's available. Is there one that comes to mind?
A lot of Jennings Dunker, a lot of the different cornerback variables, like we talked, a lot of Pons, a lot of actually Rodriguez too, just because it seems to fall that way, and it's become, I think, a kind of a sexy pick. But those are probably the ones that come top of mind. The Chris Johnson one comes up quite a bit too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as Robert says here in the chat, Chris Johnson makes so much sense. I agree. And Emilio, would you be okay with that if, when we picked at 52, the best player available was a cornerback, or do you think there's another position you'd rather it fall into place?
No, I think that's totally fine. You're going to have to pull the trigger on something. I feel like cornerback's one of the needs. We still need the interior on D and O, but if he falls at 52, I think you got to take that one.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I've done here, guys, is I tried to comb through Twitter and just look at where can I find Green Bay's name mentioned in mock drafts? And there was a account here. I want to say it had like 60,000 followers. It's PFSN. You guys can follow them at PFSN 365. And it says the most selected players by every NFC team inside PFSN's NFL mock draft simulator. So this is showing, here are the players that landed on these teams the most. For Green Bay, surprisingly, was Peter Woods, defensive tackle. And when I seen that, now I don't want to call them out. They may have the best mock draft simulator on the planet. I don't know. But I'm thinking there's no way Peter Woods is going to be there from Clemson, right? That's immediately what I think. And so I looked at the board here, And Peter Woods is sitting on the 31 spot on our big board. He's in the 31 spot. He's got a 34 grade. If Peter Woods is on the board when we pick at 52, run the damn card. You kidding me? That would be
PFF has him as 13.
Right. So
Isn't there a thing against Clemson D line though?
Yeah.
Oh, Amelia, what are you talking about?
You're right. I shouldn't have said
well,
that.
No, I need to know, man. I need to know.
I thought it was one of those things where it's like, oh, you never take a Clemson defensive.
Not my problem. That's what I say.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're right. I thought there was a thing saying, you quote.
No, it is. It's voodoo, man. There's voodoo out there.
D line.
Yeah.
And maybe that's I'm trying to think like who in the league at interior defensive line played for Clemson.
And that's a dog.
Can't think of one right now. Yeah, like when you think of the interior, of course, I mean, when it comes to defensive tackles, you think Jalen Carter, right?
Yep.
Like Jalen Carter obviously played for Georgia, correct?
Yep.
Now we got Devontae Wyatt from Georgia. They also got Jordan Davis from Georgia too, right? If I remember correctly, I think he came from the same school because they all played together down there. So Georgia kind of feels like an interior defensive tackle factory when those guys can stay healthy and on the field, not spitting on people and stuff like Jalen Carter has done in the past. But that was interesting. I just want to be very clear. If Peter Woods is on the board when we pick at 52, hell yes, draft him. You kidding me? I think there's no chance he's going to be there. But again, that is what was tweeted out there by PFSN. Now, moving on to the Athletic here, Jacob, they've got a name that we've heard mentioned several times. And what they did was they did 2, 3, and 4. So rounds 2, 3, and 4. This was Matt Schneiden of the Athletic. And with no first round pick, obviously. In round 2, they go Davison, Igbinosun. Then they go in round 3, Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. Round 4, Josh Cuevas, tight end out of Alabama. All those are needs that we've hit. 2 of those players we drafted before. We've never drafted Cuevas from Alabama. But what do you think about Igbinosun there? Because we've got him in the 78 spot. And I'm like, man, at 52, that's quite the reach there, man.
I think I still like Davison there. Just because coming from a big program, a lot of competition the whole time. Yeah, maybe the grades aren't perfect, but he's playing up in, and I think that it was this past year, or was it the year before? So last year he didn't play great. This year came back, started playing a little bit better, and then the previous year. So it'd be one of those like a Jaden Reed, where last year's not gonna, hurt him, but the year prior could help him bring that score down. I wouldn't be mad at that. Get through a little bit of hardship and still come out playing good this year. I do like him.
And Jacob, if we were going to try to make a case with our big board for Davis and Igbinosun here at 52, the fact that Dane Brugler has him in the 50 spot really kind of perks me up a little bit. Like, maybe he's too low on our board. Although we're not going to change it, we're getting that Dane Brugler effect. But it also shows that without the Dane Brugler 50 spot, he would be even lower on our board here as well. What do you think, man?
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, playing for Ohio State goes against some pretty good competition. Maybe the best. PFF has him at 123. Really love his size, 6'2", 195. He's only 21.8 years of age, too. That, to me, should kind of pop off the page. Big size, big school, young kid. Seems like he's playing his best football. He was ranked 79.3, had a coverage grade of nearly 80. I mean, he kind of pops off the page for sure. The only thing I would argue is that we have such a bunch of good cornerbacks around that area that if we do have another pressing need, one of them that I can see there is, Jake Slaughter. Let's put on our GM hat and let's say that Linderbaum goes back to his team. We can't really find a great replacement that we feel comfortable with in free agency at that center position. All of a sudden, does that force our hand a little bit into this draft when we have a guy like Slaughter just staring us in the face? I think that maybe would decide that pick a little faster for us, if that makes sense.
Right.
No, he does. Yeah.
Key there, Jacob 6'2", I think that's a big thing to take into account. And yeah, the fact that he's already dropped on the PFF big board compared to we had him at 147. He's already down to 123. If he keeps dropping, and he was the 21st ranked quarterback out of this past year. The dude has skill. I think that you could definitely see them pulling the trigger on him like that.
Well, and one thing I saw when you showed that group of our current DBs, you saw a pattern. There was nobody there that was below 5'11". Yep. They were all at least 6 foot. It seemed like 190-ish. So to me, that's why I look at the guys like Pons. That just, to me, he doesn't fit that mold. I just don't see us breaking out that drastically, especially on an early pick like that.
Yeah, and Emilio, you said that he dropped to 120. You mean he's?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right.
Or, yeah, he's climbed to 120 versus where we had him at 147.
Gotcha. So what it tells us is late draft season buzz, right? The hype is
starting to
building
like
a little bit for Igbinosun. So definitely keep our eye on that. And again, the Athletic had them take him in round 2. Let's move on to the next one here. This is Sports Illustrated and Jacob Westendorf, a really good follow over on X if you guys aren't following him. He mocked in the second round Chris Johnson out of San Diego State at 52. I absolutely love that pick. I mean, when you look at where we got Chris Johnson at, we got him in the 34 spot. If you can get him at 52, Jacob, run the freaking card, man. Again, we already talked about it, kind of comparing him to D'Angelo Pons. It's nice to see Jacob Westendorf agrees with us here, man. It seems like his board's lining up with ours here.
Yeah, I mean, what more? We did talk about him earlier, but just to do another quick highlight, the second ranked cornerback got a 908, scoring a 91.6, had a 92.4 coverage grade. That's pretty good, guys. Going against some decent, schools, not like it's Big Ten or ACC or SEC or anything like that, but plays against some decent schools. Like we more talked about, the more impressive thing is probably the fact that when he went to that, when he started doing the Senior Bowl stuff, he highlighted and shined against big talent, very competent players, one-on-one too. So there's no way to kind of shy away from it. And then love the fact too that like I don't know if he'd make it to 52. PFF has him at 59th right now. If he's there at 52, and again, we hadn't made any moves in the free agency market, if we haven't re-signed certain players, I say run the card, man.
He is a G.
And like you said, Jacob, I mean, he played well last year. Coverage grade was the 92.4, completion percentage 41%, man coverage grade of a 74, zone coverage 91.9. I mean,
solid.
And he played outside basically the whole time, right? A little bit of box, a little bit of slot, but outside corner.
Yeah. And in round 3, just real quick, Jacob Westendorf had the Packers selecting Darrell Jackson, defensive tackle out of Florida State.
Like him.
He's popped up on our board several times. We've got him in the 91 spot on our big board. So if you got the 91st best prospect at pick 82, that's not a terrible reach there, right? That's kind of in that range where, okay, we're going to go 3 tech or 5 or whatever he plays. We're going interior defensive line. Let's go ahead and get our guy here, right? So, and then he's got Tristan Lee or Lay, however you say it. I don't know much about him. That's a name I don't remember hearing at all. So let me do a quick little search here. Yeah, so we got him in the 430 spot.
You already got a cheese emoji next to him, Mr. Clay, though.
They met with him. And why is he so low on our board? The PFF big board at the end of the college football season had him 325th. Mm-hmm. All right. His 2025 PFF grade out of all offensive tackles across all of college football, he was ranked 545th.
Yeah. So
this is one that does not make sense to me in the 4th round. If it was a 7th round pick, okay, take a flyer. You like his measurables, you like his traits, sure. But I don't know, that one seems like a bit of a reach. Do you guys agree or disagree with that? Is there anything I'm missing, maybe?
Yeah, I don't get that right there. I actually was looking at offensive linemen, and I have 3 or 4 of them that I would take in the later rounds, and he did not fly on my radar whatsoever. Yeah, I don't get that one.
No, that one's kind of rough. 6'6", 310. PFF has him. He's 339 on their board right now, so he's dropping from where we had him. Honestly, the 24 and 23 gate are probably the only thing bringing it down. That 545 is pretty rough. Yeah, I don't know.
And who knows, man? Maybe we get to the combine and he throws up 40 reps on the bench and he's agile as hell, and all of a sudden it's, now we get it. He's one of those traits guys, right? Could be. But right now it seems like he's definitely flying under the radar. Moving on to Lombardi Avenue, and this is, I know I'm going to butcher the name. Is it Sayer Bettinger? Do you think I got that right? Sayer?
I think you slammed it.
All right. They had us taking in round 2. Chris is going to love this. Chris the casual in the chat's going to love this. In round 2, pick 52, they got us taking Dominique Big Citrus Orange. All right. So we've got Big Citrus in the 99 spot. That's another example of like him with Darrell Jackson up here. You can see he or Darrell Jackson at 82. I feel a little bit better about that. But taking Big Citrus at 52, man, let me explain why it's a reach for me. And I want to get your all's take. The consensus big board had him at 69 at the end of the season. Okay. The PFF big board had him at 65th. His PFF grade ranked him amongst defensive tackles in 25 at 352nd However, the year before, he was the 30th highest graded defensive tackle. So he's getting kind of that Jaden Reed effect there. Also, Dane Brugler had him 71st, and Tankathon had him 70th. All right. So the big thing that's bringing him down there is this 2025 PFF grade, Emilio, right? Am I thinking right there? That's what's probably dropping him down. So if we remove that grade altogether, he's probably going to be in the 60s in terms of our grade, right? I would imagine if you remove the 352.
And the thing with Big Citrus, nothing against him. He just had 400 and change snaps in A gap, and he's had 1 sack his whole career. Or from the past 3 years. With Jackson, he at least was 320 in the B gap, 160 in the A gap, and he's had six sacks. Don't get me wrong, I like Big Citrus, but we've also kind of seen some talent come out of Florida State's D line too, with Fisk and what the Rams have and things like that. So, I'm just trying to take the general overview of it, but I think having that A gap specifically might be a little tough. Unless, that's where we're heading with the defense. Who knows?
Yeah, makes sense. It definitely makes sense. Now, in round 3, who is this? Not Jacob Westendorf. Sarah Bettinger says Davison Igbinosun in round 3. Now, we love that, right? Mm-hmm. That's our 78th best prospect, and we get him at 84. That would be a great pick, Jacob. That would be, man, if you can get Igbinosun, like you said, 6'2". We talked about him already. We don't have to dive into it too deep, but imagine him at 82, and that frees up. Not that we definitely don't agree with Dominic Orange here in round 2, but like in round 2, if you were to get a Jennings Dunker, like you said, Jacob, or whoever, what if the cornerbacks fell perfectly to you and you took Chris Johnson with 52, and then you turn around and took Igbinosun in round 3? We've seen Goody double dip like that at a position before, right, Jacob?
We've seen him double dip. We've seen other teams have success with that. Obviously, the Eagles going back to back with Quignon and then Cooper DeJean. We've seen the Lions do that in previous years, and I think Ryan actually did a mock where he did something similar, and he said, if one of them only works out, fine. That's great. If you just have one starter that comes out of this mess, I do think that'd be a pretty fun draft, definitely, just to see 2 young guys, and if they both hit, you're set for a very solid window there. 3 to 5 years at least. So it's probably a little bit risky in some people's eyes, but I think it'd be a great 1-2 punch right there.
Mm-hmm.
If you peel it back another layer, round 4, he got Chandler Rivers from Duke.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about Rivers being the 81st best prospect on our board that you're getting in round 4. Holy cow. I don't think Rivers is going to last that long, but if he does, and you could get Igbinosun in round 3 and then Rivers in round 4, you got 2 top 100 prospects on our board at the cornerback position. And that's not even including your 52nd pick, which then I don't think anybody wants us to take 3 cornerbacks in a row, right? So at 52, maybe you do shore up the offensive line like we talked about. Or who knows? What if Peter Woods did drop to him? What if you went Peter Woods at 52, if somehow, some way he was there, and then you turned around and got 2 of your better cornerbacks on your board? Everything is going back to that article for me, or that tweet for me with Daniel Jeremiah, that, boy, you can get some great value. And really, it's showing here in the round 4 potentially at cornerback. Mm-hmm. So really, really exciting there. Next is Packers Wire, Brandon Rupp. And keep in mind, this one was on February 2nd. So we're going back in time. That's why the Rivers thing probably ain't going to happen. Obviously, we're kind of going back. That was earlier in the draft process. So on February 2nd, Packers Wire had us drafting Dominic Orange too. So that's probably cooled off since then, I would imagine. Now, you go to the current day mock draft database mock draft. This shows who is getting mocked there the most, I believe is what it is, or the most recent one they had. LT Overton at 52, an edge defender from Alabama. Me no lucky that, Jan. And I'm going to explain why. Overton on our board is 115, and he plays edge. Like, Jacob, if we're sitting there at 52 and we're thinking, is it Jennings Dunker? Is it Chris Johnson? Is it, and he picks the 110th best it's going to be Anthony Belton.
That's a Goody. That's
that signs, yeah. Especially when Jennings Dunker goes 1 pick before, and then Johnson goes a pick before to the Lions.
Absolutely.
I would rip, and then Pons will go right after. Yeah, of course. I would rip my own beard off and eat it. I'm just saying, dude. That would be the worst.
You're going to get your ass kicked in that.
I mean, guy like that, 6'5", 278, a senior, he's only 21.3 years of age. Overall grade, though, 63.8, 64.8. I always am hesitant, kind of like with Auburn, Clemson, Alabama, these big schools where you just have talent everywhere. It's hard to isolate. Are these guys actually doing something, or are they being basically carried by the amount of talent that's around them, so they're not even have to crack into their actual potential until you get them into a situation where they're more one-on-one, or you come into the NFL where things are moving just a tick faster, and all of a sudden they just can't keep up. That's what I would fear. Do not like the pick, so I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah, Emilio, if we go LT Overton at 52, it's going to be.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper in a way?
No, that's exactly what it's going to be. We're going to ask him next time on the plane, man. What are we doing over there, Mel? The only two good games he had all year was against Wisconsin, 73-7.
Of course.
And who was that?
Jacob, of course.
Fordham, maybe 74-4. It's just like I don't know. The rest of me sitting at 60, high 50s. Just don't like that one.
I already forgot that Mel Kiper was on our plane when we flew into Green Bay for the draft. That's hilarious. And I walk right by him. I'm pissed off when I'm around that many people. I'm just like, get me off this plane as soon as possible. I walk by, we sit down, and Mandy said, "Hey, that draft guy's up in the front row." And I'm like, what draft guy does she know? She was like, that guy with the hair. And I went, what hair? She went, looks like Eddie Munster.
We could see it from the back. We could see it from the back row, Clay. I mean, that thing was just elevated.
And she said he looked like Eddie Munster. Before she said that, I'm like, what draft guy, man? It was like 35 draft guys. And there was all kinds of NFL logos on quarter zips and stuff. So it's like you had NFL employees flying into town when we did. And then when she said Eddie Munster, I immediately went, Mel Kiper? That's exactly who she was talking about. So, yeah. Anyway, don't like the LT Overton pick there. Now, also at 84, they went Devin Moore in this mock draft, okay? And
I like
Devin,
that.
Do you? Okay. 84 looks like a bit of a reach for me. We got him in the 113 spot. But he did have a great PFF grade in 2025, right, Jacob? I'm showing he was 43rd best. Is that correct?
Yeah, he had an 83 overall grade, 81.5 coverage grade. Emilio, he's 6'3", 198. Again, that's PFF's ranking there, so I'm sure that's probably about a half inch in either direction there, which makes a difference. But yeah, I don't know. They've got him ranked 83rd. So if that was the case, yeah,
not opposed to that. Basically outside corner, 450 snaps. What I like, Jacob, 81 coverage grade with an 81 run defense grade too. I mean, if you're playing corner, you're 6'3". I need you to stick your nose in there. We need somebody that's going to tackle. We ran into that this year with Key. We need, we're going to need outside help on the run and things like that. We're gonna need corners that aren't afraid to, get down and dirty in there.
Yeah, Jacob, where is Devin Moore on the PFF big board right now? Where is he set right now?
83rd.
So check this out. He's 83rd on the PFF big board. When I took the data down at the end of the college football season, he was 339.
Wow.
So that's what's bringing him down on our board. The same reason that you're saying, hey, it looks like a solid pick, it's the same exact people who told us he sucked a month ago. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I will say this, Dane Brugler, 73rd. I definitely take Dane Brugler over PFF's big board all day long and twice on Sunday, right? And the Tankathon had him at 95. And the consensus big board had him at 75. So it looks like PFF big board was a little late to the party there. So it is worth mentioning that he is probably I think PFF woke up one day and went, oh, crap, we screwed that up. Let's move him up the board.
J. Cole wants credit. We got to remember to give J. Cole credit because he has been pushing Devin Moore in the chat for a while now.
Devin Moore, if we put in that 83 where PFF had him on the big board, he would jump up to 80th roughly on our board, right in front of Julian Neal and Chandler Rivers.
Perfect. It's literally when you look at everything we put in, 73 for Dane Brugler, 95 for Tankathon, 75 for the consensus big board, and then the PFF big board is 339. His grade ranking 43rd. The only thing that doesn't belong here is the PFF big board, right? And again, these are the problems that we're dealt every year during draft season. We build our board because I want to keep it to how did people feel at the end of the college football season. But once again, here we are talking about PFF going, man, I don't know. Did they seem like somebody was off their rocker with this one, I'd love to know why they had him there that early. But, of course, there's no one to ask that question to. So, yeah. All right, so there you go, guys. There's just a quick breakdown of the mock drafts here recently and how they're falling into place. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about those mock drafts? Is there one you like more than the other? what player would you like at 52 and then at 84 for your Green Bay Packers? Make sure you hit like for us, hit subscribe, click the bell icon, take the conversation in the comments. We greatly appreciate you. All right, boys. That's all I had really to cover. Is there anything else y'all want to hit before we get ready to wrap up here? Anything at all, Jacob, on the forefront of your mind?
I was wondering if you could tell me where we have Traden Stooks. Because he's one that is absolutely growing on me right now. PFF has him at 104. He's 5th out of 908 cornerbacks. Went to Arizona, 6'2", 200 pounds, 90.1 overall grade, had a 90.4 coverage grade. He just screams like he's a redshirt senior, so a little more experience. You guys know that's all right with me.
So I know it is. I know it is, sir. You said Stoops, is that right?
Stoops.
Yep,
Stooks.
Okay,
Yep,
gotcha.
we have him at 105 on the big board.
Okay.
He was 5th in 2025, which was huge. 175 and 23. It looks like we didn't have a grade for him in 24. We just had under 200 snaps. But I'm not opposed to that. Again, with the size, Jacob 6'2", 200. That's not terrible right there.
Yeah, let me see too. It's Traden Stooks, right? I want to check his injury. See if we need to mark that red there for 24 real quick, Emilio. I'm curious to know why we didn't have a grade there for him. It's incomplete. Obviously, there's no ranking, and I'm going to leave those blank this year for that reason. But it's Traden Stooks, right?
I mean, he's not better than Red Murdoch, sitting there at 104 at my boy. But
here we go.
I cannot believe when I heard that. I was driving up and I heard you guys passed on Red. I turned off the pod right then. I said I had to text you guys immediately saying I cannot believe you let him slip through your fingers.
Here we go. All right. So September 2024, he suffered a torn ACL during the Big 12 opener against UVA. This injury resulted in him missing the remainder of the 24 season and got a medical redshirt year. But here's the good news. You ready for the good news? The fact that he dominated in 25, the ACL is not a problem. Right. He is healthy. So should I put a red there on that box just so we know why we did? I think we should. It wouldn't hurt.
I think so.
Yes, I would. The other thing is he probably want to throw a versatile next to him because he played 380 slot snaps and 197 in the box, only 4 at corner this past year.
So more of a slot corner, really. Then should I put an S instead of a V?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, 4 snaps at corner is kind of tough.
Right. So that'll tell us, guys, he is a slot cornerback. If you see a -S or a -V, that means they're a versatile corner. If it's just cornerback, they're outside corner. And then you got versatile and then, of course, slot corner specialty. So, again, this is our big board. You guys can find this over in our Patreon group. If you want to support the show, just join our Patreon community, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3 get you access to everything in the site. And you also get access to this big board that's updating in real time as we're adding all the information in. So appreciate everybody over there for sure. Anybody else, Jacob, on your mind, man?
So might be a long shot. What do you guys think about running back Katron Allen?
Katron Allen. And Emilio, if you need to bounce, you bounce, buddy. I know you had stuff.
Good. No, you're good.
Katron. How do you spell Katron?
Kaytron.
All right, Katron Allen out of Penn State. We've got him in the 96 spot. It's a solid back. I would hate to reach for a running back at 80, 84, but if he's there at 120, I'd be okay with running the card there in the 4th round. What do you think, Emilio?
Yeah, I'm not mad at to Katron there just because he was so consistent, right? 50 and 23, 70 and 24, 16 and 25. Really, the only thing kind of bringing him down is the big board, though he is dropping on PFS from where we had him at 116. He's 135 now, but consistently in the 80s. Penn State, they can churn out some running backs. I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah,
and again, I was thinking if we could get him in like the 4th, like Emilio said, he's at 135 PFF big board right now.
And Jacob keeps bringing this up, Emilio. Just about every show he's bringing up. Are we overlooking running back? And there were several people in the YouTube comments yesterday that said, I agree with Jacob. We are overlooking running back. Running back's a sneaky need. What do you think about that? Because when I look at why we lost last year, to me, it was more about the offensive line than our running backs. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know, do you agree, like in a perfect scenario, where would you like to see us take a running back in the draft? Or maybe do you go in the free agency and listen, don't look now, but Adam Schefter tweeted out yesterday, It's unlikely the Seahawks will use their franchise tag on running back and Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker, per league sources. The Seahawks have multiple free agents they want to retain and sign. They also will try to extend Jackson Smith and Jigba. There are enough Super Bowl tax costs that now make using a franchise tag this offseason unlikely. So Kenneth Walker will probably get the test to market. He was the best running back in the NFL this year. There's no doubt about it. Like, I feel comfortable saying that. With Josh Jacobs, everybody's going, what are you doing, Clayton? Listen, hear me out. With Josh Jacobs and his cap hit the way it surges, if you could cut him and free up enough money and you could go get Kenneth Walker and essentially swap out Kenneth Walker for Josh Jacobs, would that truly be an upgrade? Or is it more about how bad our offensive line played? And if you put Josh Jacobs behind Seattle's offensive line, would he have the same amount of success? So again, I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, when we're talking about free agent running backs, when we're talking about draft running backs, there's a lot of stuff that's still kind of falling into place in free agency. We may look up and go, damn, you could go get a guy there too. I don't know. But what do you think about the running back position as a whole?
Yeah, I guess my thought would be I'd love to see, point of contact on Kenneth Walker versus Josh Jacobs, because we basically knew that he was getting hit in the backfield pretty much, every snap. So if Kenneth Walker has you saw he had the patience and time to sit behind the O-line, and then find the hole, which nothing wrong with that. I love the patience, but our O-line was not giving us that opportunity. And sneaky need at running back. Yeah, I do think that is. I wouldn't think that Goody would probably pull it until the 5th round, though. Anywhere 5 to 7 would be fair game for a running back. But I just love Josh, man. He's the heartbeat of that team. I don't think you're going to move away from him right yet. Maybe in a year or two, I think you could, but I don't think this offseason's it.
Yeah, going to the chat, Daryl says Kenneth Walker and Jaden Reed, former teammates at Michigan State. So that's interesting. Eric Sutherland says, hell yeah, go Spartans. So we got a Michigan State fan in here. Chris N says Walker struggles in the passing game. Jacob, that might be, that's something else that we a lot of times don't take into consideration when we're just looking at running backs as a whole, right? We know that Matt LaFleur loves those running backs that can pass protect, man. And obviously Chris Brooks, he's got that already in that. That's why I was kind of pushing back a little bit on the running back position. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Like, I think Matt would much rather have Chris Brooks back than to go get a more dynamic ball carrier, but someone who's going to struggle in pass protection. It kind of feels like, too, Jacob, we're going to press into the pass a little bit more this year. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off on that feeling, but I just kind of get the vibe we might do it. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with Glover either, Emilio.
Come on now, little 5 wide.
That Katron Allen was more of a kind of like Emilio said. I don't see us taking one until the 5th to the 7th. So I was thinking maybe if he fell, that'd be one that I would like Goody to take a slap on. But otherwise, a name that I keep hearing is the Kalen Black, halfback from Indiana. He's got him slotted at 235. So that's a little more realistic as to if we were to maybe take a running back in that range. And I saw some little blip yesterday where it's like everybody's sleeping on this guy, Kalen Black. He's fast. He can pass protect. He's really good at catching passes out of the backfield. Graded out pretty decent. He's 5'10", 211. That's exactly the type of range that Goody likes to draft his running backs in. 77 overall grade. Had a rushing grade of nearly 80.
Yeah. And when you look at it, he's way down our list. He's in the 293 spot. However, like you said, in 2025, he was 63rd at his position. Pretty solid grade there from PFF. The consensus big board had him at 425. The PFF big board had him at 207. Where do they have him now, Jacob?
235.
So he's actually dropped on the board since this, too. And now here's what's interesting. All-Star week at the Senior Bowl, he was one of those players that dominated. So that's going to skyrocket him up boards. I would be okay with him in the 7th round just because of that Senior Bowl bonus. Anybody who gets the Senior Bowl bonus, hey, I'm cool with taking a 7th round pick on, man, no doubt. And we got 3 of those. So maybe that is the spot that you go after a running back if for some reason Kalen Black were to drop all the way down there.
Honestly, either of the Indiana running backs, Hemby either. Both of them had over 1,000 yards this year. Both of them can, zone and gap right around 70, 80s. I would be fine with either of those guys. But the fact that they turned out 2 2,000-yard rushers, 2 1,000-yard rushers was, impressive.
You said Hemby out of Indiana, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Hemby, East-West Shrine Bowl participant. We've got him with a grade of 144.7. So, yeah, if you could get him 6th, 7th round, something like that would be absolutely awesome. And sometimes that's what happens with these running backs. You get you're going to see Jeremiah Love is probably going to go top 10. Jadarian Price will probably be late first, early second, I would imagine. You've also got another running back there in Jonah Coleman. He'll probably go pretty early. Emmett Johnson. Those guys are going to be gone pretty quick. But like Jacob pointed out, man, if Katron Allen is there somewhere with an 89.1 grade we got on him, that'd be a solid pick around.
You see the window though there on the board. You got anywhere from 4 obviously Love, and then you got a big jump 50 to 89, and then 107 is Nick Singleton, and then you're pretty much 140, 150 and on for the running back. So it looks like later talent maybe, or just deeper on the draft board.
There's going to be a log jam of running backs at some point. That's going to happen, right? And
or a run, where you go to reach because you're worried about who's already come off the board.
Yeah, and it is worth mentioning that so far early in the draft prospects, the Packers have met with Damon Claiborne, halfback out of Wake Forest. They met with him, I think, at the East-West Shrine Bowl, according to our source there in Easton Butler. So he is sitting there with a 162.5 grade, so that'd be a late round pick. Tankathon actually has him 130 is where they had him ranked, so he's significantly higher. PFF Big Board had him at 124. Consensus Big Board had him at 138, but the PFF grade this year brung him down. He was 338th at his position, but last year he was 180th. So that's one that the Packers are obviously interested in talking to. So maybe they got him on their radar late in the draft as well for running back. So interesting conversation for sure. Any other ones, Jacob? Any other players, positions, anything like that, man?
I've got 2 later tackles that I thought were interesting. Not sure if they would be able to kick inside. I'm not sure, Emilio. I'm pretty sure that so one would be J.C. Davis, Illinois. I believe we had PFF ranked him around 120 at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got J.C. Davis, a 118.7 grade on him. Consensus Big Board had him 143. The PFF Big Board had him 113, but he was the 3rd highest graded lineman, tackles, I should say, in all of college football last year, according to this. So Tankathon had him at 151. Yeah, that'd be a solid pick, dude. 120, J.C. Davis out of Illinois. That would be great right there.
And then the other one, Trey Zune III.
Trey Zune III. How do you spell the last name?
Zuhn.
Let's see if we can find
it. Like John Kuhn, but with a Z. He had a pass blocking grade of 96.8 at A&M.
Yeah, we got him with a 127.2 grade. Another one right there in that range of the 120 spot. Amelia, what are you seeing with Dane Brugler there? Where does he have it?
Yeah, Dane had him 96, so made the top 100. Tank 176, not terrible. But he had a decent average coming into it. With the 109, he ends up at a 127 too. But you see that cluster anywhere from 100 to 150, where you could see a couple of those guys. And that same cluster J.C. Davis is in. So it would be one of those, like you're saying, Jacob, kind of dive in there a little bit later on.
It's an interesting prospect too, because he was listed originally as an offensive tackle, and at some point something provoked me to put him in at center, and I put a question mark. So this might be a guy that can play center potentially. Okay, I don't know if maybe going into Senior Bowl week they tried him at center and said, hey, he's more of a center than he is a tackle. Maybe that's the case. You've seen that a little bit with Trey Parker and some of these other, or Brian Parker and some of these other guys, right? So something to keep an eye on. He was a captain too there at Texas A&M. Big program down there in the SEC. Played some high level talent just like the Big Ten does. So that's an interesting one.
Perfect Packer guy, right, Jacob? With a 59.7 run blocking grade.
I was just going to say the only other side of that coin. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, man. There you go. So there's just
only one other I think that Coach had in the chat we were looking up earlier. The linebacker from USC.
Yeah. So Gentry is interesting because go ahead and read his comment that and why Coach is interested in it.
Yeah, Coach said, did you guys see the 6'6" linebacker from USC, Gentry? I think his name was. I could have swore he said his wingspan is 7 foot.
Yeah. That matters too. I don't care what anybody says.
As a linebacker?
Yeah, that matters big time. So we've got a low grade on him, Coach, at a 265.3. All right. Consensus Big Board had him at 262. PFF Big Board had him at 259. He was a 295th graded linebacker in 25. Okay. So that's why he is where he is for us. But when you're talking about traits and size, that could be a guy that hands down he's going to get signed as an undrafted free agent. But somebody might take him late in the draft just because of that size, right? There's no doubt about that, especially if he runs well at the combine too. So that's crazy. 6'6", stack backer.
But looking at that cluster, it doesn't look like a super deep linebacker draft, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think there's a lot of more high end talent at the backer position, but not a lot of extra players there to kind of choose from.
If we don't keep Quay Walker, if he tests free agency and he gets $15 million per, and Goody's like can't do it, can't pay him, no. I'm not looking at Red Murdoch, Emilio. We're looking at Jacob Rodriguez. I'm telling you, if Jacob Rodriguez is there when you pick at 52, I would have no problem with them taking him. If he's there at 84, boy, oh boy, Jacob Rodriguez is a fun one. He was the highest graded linebacker in all of college football last year. And when I think of someone graded that high, I immediately think of Edgerrin Cooper. That was the thing that really skyrocketed him up our board was Edgerrin Cooper. PFF nailed that in college. They were like, this dude is a freaking beast. And obviously he's been that since he got to the league. And then, well, how did he perform again at the Senior Bowl? He got the 5-point bonus. This dude is checking all the boxes. Now, will he be there at 52? There's a good chance he won't be. And also, do we want to spend our 52nd pick on a stack backer? I'm okay with it. If you go get a couple of offensive linemen in free agency and maybe a cornerback or two as well, I'd be all right with it. But he is, as Chester says, he's a beast. Jacob, I know you'd be on board with that, wouldn't you?
100%. I'd love it.
Yeah. Now, you'll see here, Emilio has a guy highlighted, and that is Red Murdoch from Buffalo. I really like Red Murdoch. 97.5 is his overall grade for us. So worthy. If you picked him at 84, I would be okay with it. Now, he was the 4th highest graded linebacker in college football last year.
What was that? So, 4th highest graded? Okay, not bad. I'll take that.
Obviously, he's got the horns emoji here because Emilio's going to do that with his Buffalo players.
Yes, sir.
And then the other thing with Red Murdoch, he's got an ankle injury, right, Emilio? That he
did. Yeah. He did have
should
one.
Be good to go, though.
Yep. Hopefully, he was saying that he should be good to go by the combine, but I just – I like that he was a dog. He was setting records at Buffalo, and you just got Sean Dolac that came out last year. You got
Sean
this year.
Dolac. Yeah.
So it's just I don't know. I mean,
Emilio, you're gonna have to email PFF. They don't even have him on their
tell me
their
about
list,
it,
brother.
Tell me
What's
about
going on
it.
there.
It'll be one of those they had late.
Call your senator. Report this.
All right. So I want to point this out real quick. All right, I'm gonna put this up and then we're wrapping up. I promise. I got to get going. We got some heat and air guys coming over to fix a unit that we paid $10,000 for last year, and it hasn't worked since we bought the damn thing. That's a story for a different day. But when you go to the PFF grades here, all right, and we sort by, the highest graded players. This is why Emilio keeps bringing it up. Sean Dolac, 88.5 PFF grade. Now, he didn't get to 100 snaps. Okay, we got to mention that. But, boy, when he had his opportunity, he was balling out. Same thing with Jeffrey Bassa, who had obviously minimal snaps, but 85.7 there as well. Kareem Reed, if that's how you say it too, out of Utah last year, he had a 78.4, but he's in the red as well. What you're seeing with these linebackers is they can't stay healthy. Look, Kobe King, 77.4, but he didn't get to 100 snaps. So that might be something to kind of monitor. Now, obviously, Jahad Campbell was our highest graded linebacker last year, and boy, did we nail that. We knocked it out of the park. 76.2 was his PFF grade last year, so he crushed at the NFL level. Carson Swasinger, I think he won Defensive Rookie of the Year, right? We had him with a 48.9 was his grade. He ended up grading out 74.4 in PFF. So that's one that we nailed there as well. We were all over the stack backer position last year, and there was plenty to choose from. But the problem is a lot of them could not stay healthy. Man, it's a whole different ball game when you play on Sunday. No doubt about it. Anything else, boys? We good?
No. Oh, yeah, just Red Murdoch. He is the all-time NCAA record for career forced fumbles.
Who?
I'm just
Red
saying.
Murdoch. That's
Khalil Mack.
That's a great point. I go James Starks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
man?
James Starks. Come on now.
Helped us get a Super Bowl here in Green Bay. So, all right, that's it, guys. Let's get out of here. Emilio, it's good to see you, buddy. Jacob, thanks
Absolutely.
for jumping on, man. Been fun talking ball with you the last couple of days. Tim's off doing way more important things than hanging out with us knuckleheads. I promise you that. So I'm sure he'll be back in the fold soon. We may do a show tonight. We'll see if any kind of news breaks as well. We're in that window where restructures could happen. We may see an announcement of, hey, this player restructured their contract. Keep an eye on Elton Jenkins, Aaron Banks, and Rashawn Gary. If a restructure does not get done with those three guys, it's more likely than not, in my opinion, that we may just move on from them on the eve of the new calendar year. Okay. So the longer that goes, if we get to March 1st, right? If we get to the last week of February and those three guys have not been restructured yet, probably going to move on from them. I wouldn't surprise me one bit, because again, you're not going to have Aaron Banks play at $24.8 million. You're not going to have Elton Jenkins be against the cap at $24.8 million. You're not going to have Rashawn Gary at $28 million. So if you're trying to understand what I'm saying here, those restructures need to happen to lower that cap number to keep them on the roster. If we don't do that, then it might be just Goody's going to move on, cut them outright, and just free up that money. Whether you go post-June with Aaron Banks to free up an extra, $18 million, or Elton Jenkins is just 1 year left, so you cut him, you free up $20 million. Rashawn Gary, if you cut him outright, you free up $11 million. If you go post-June, you free up $19.5 million. So, again, Gary may go the Preston Smith route and take a big pay cut, guarantee a little bit of money, lower that cap number down significantly, and keep him on the roster. They may just move on outright. I can understand both sides of that, to be honest with you. You can sell me on both scenarios too. So just keep your eyes and ears to the streets for that, ladies and gentlemen, and we will report it as soon as anything breaks loose in that regard. As always, the best way to support what we do here at PTA is just join the Patreon community, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Appreciate you, boys. This is a lot of fun. And we will be back later today as news breaks. My name's Clayton. That's Emilio. That's Jacob. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
There we go.
Bye, guys.